And a good Tuesday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on this Tuesday night, the 16th day of April, 2024. I've got to ask my dear guest, AF Tony Branco, if he's got any money left after tax day yesterday. You know, we wouldn't want these illegals not to go to school, eat, sleep in Taj Mahal motels, and, you know, the government, God forbid, that they use their own money for that, Branco. They use our money for that, so I just want to make sure you still got your wallet after yesterday. So I'm just asking.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid to count it right now.
I'm afraid to count it too, buddy. It is good to have my dear friend, comically incorrect AF Branco, an award-winning cartoonist, and every time he comes on, we get a good response from everybody. Hey, man, it's good to see you tonight. It's been a while. I do want to run a few
good to see you.
News stories by you and get your take on them, and then we'll talk about some other things tonight. The event over the weekend with Israel and Iran, it was very telling, and Israel has shown a lot of restraint, Tony, considering everything that happened. And really, I feel like they've shown restraint in many ways since October the 7th. I know people may not agree with that, but Israel could have responded to this situation in a much stronger manner if she so desired. And I've always been told this and always believed this. If the Israelis wanted the Palestinians destroyed, there'd be no Palestinians. If the Palestinians wanted peace, they'd have peace with Israel. If they truly wanted peace, they'd have peace with Israel. They don't want peace. And Iran, I feel the same way. If Israel's goal was to create World War III, they've had plenty of reasons to start it because of the threats and because of the things they see happening. If Iran really wanted to be at peace with Israel, they'd be at peace with their enemies, and we know good and well that ain't going to happen. But when you see these things happen like they happened Saturday night, and then the world starts screaming for Israel, not Iran, but Israel, mind you, to show restraint without condemning the bombing, you've got some good fodder for a good cartoon, because that is the state of affairs in this world. But a lot of that comes back to the White House. A lot of that comes back to America tonight and our lack of leadership. And we basically gave Iran the missiles to do it. I mean, when we took those sanctions off, that's exactly what they spent this money on. And that's how we will war terrorism here in America. I will ask you this. Do you think if this would have been done to us, though, had those missiles fallen on New York City, or those missiles would have fallen on Chicago or L.A. or Atlanta, Washington, D.C. even, do you think that we would be sitting around and listening to the world tell us to have restraint tonight to go after the people that did this?
No, I don't. And in fact, if Iran had done this to us, right now we'd be looking at Lake Iran. We wouldn't be.
That's right.
So it's kind of the hypocrisy.
I'm sorry. That's the truth.
No.
You want to be my defense secretary when I run for president? I think I've just found my Department of Homeland Defense guy. I like that attitude, Branco. I like that. Lake Iran. Okay.
And of course, you know, we're joking because there's a lot of probably good people in Iran. However, a lot of them, although the left likes to say that the people in Iran don't go along with the Ayatollah, there are a lot of them parading out in the streets and celebrating the attack. And there was a lot of people in the United States celebrating the attack in our own homeland. So this is just scary stuff when you have people shutting down bridges across the nation and nobody's doing anything to them, and they're getting away with it, other than Florida.
They
didn't get away with it in Florida, a red state and a red city. No, they scooped them up quick and got them out of there. But like places like, you know,
Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco and Chicago,
Chicago,
O'Hare,
New York. No, they just disrupt, and that's dangerous. I mean, that's violent protesting. They say it's a peaceful protest. No, it isn't, because people can die if they have to get to the hospital. People are losing their means of feeding their family. That's not peaceful protesting. Those people should be put in jail a lot longer than what they're doing to the J6ers.
Oh, absolutely, buddy. Yeah. Absolutely. We need to talk about that Lake Iran thing. I think I've already I've been trying to figure out if I run for president who I'm going to elect as my cabinet. So Branco, you just went to the top of the food chain. I just want you to know that. And I think that's a great cartoon. I think that I'll be looking for that cartoon this week. Lake Iran. If this would have happened to America, and then you got to put it at the bottom. I want to thank my dear friend Christopher McDonald for the inspiration of this. My dumb foolery friend Chris McDonald. Hey. You mentioned something. Why is that these nations? Is it the leadership of this nation that has gone down? That why these nations feel like they can get away with stuff like this? Because I just do not see. Like, I got to clarify. I want to say this. I want to preface this statement. I don't agree with President Trump saying things like, "Well, if I would have been in office, this would have never happened," because that reeks of arrogance. He don't know it wouldn't have happened. I don't think it. We don't know for sure. Iran may not have done it, but it doesn't mean they wouldn't have done it.
But they wouldn't have had the money to do it.
That's the point. That's a fair statement. But
and Russia wouldn't have the money to do what it did. So there's a lot of, you can go down those roads. Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think that's where Trump is coming from, because they were afraid of what he would do, because he didn't project what he was going to do like Biden does all the time. But this is you're right. It's a leadership problem. You've got started with Obama handing millions of dollars back to Iran and tried to coddle them for a nuclear deal that was going to ultimately allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, and playing these footsie games with them. It started way back then, and it stopped with Trump. Trump shut them down. They couldn't get any money. They couldn't sell their oil. And then it picks right back up with Biden. Same with our border. Biden picked right up where Obama left off. Trump stopped it. He stopped the border, the onslaught of people coming across the border, and that was happening with Obama too. So people forget that Obama was working with Soros to get more people in to vote.
Yeah.
And then Biden just took it over. He just opened the floodgates. And there's so many things you can go down the list, economic wise, energy wise, border security, crime. All of these things are all on Biden's back. They're at his doorstep. He's the one that caused this. And
do you also believe though that you have to lay it at the Republicans a little bit, because they look, they're not the ones in control of foreign policy, but they are the ones in control of the purse strings.
Right.
And look, this money didn't fall out of pixie dust heaven that he sent over there. Somebody had to approve it. The House had to approve these funds. And again, without a strong party to stand up to this White House, Tony, we're stuck. And look, I think back to 2010 when the Tea Party came on the scene. People mocked the Tea Party. There were definitely some elements in the Tea Party that was a little redneckish. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. I met some of these folks. I had a candidate down here in Tennessee. He was running for governor, and he tried to tap into the Tea Party group, and we had some characters. I mean, we just did. And I mean, that we on the right sometimes are our own worst enemy. But one thing I have to say about that election in 2010, when the House went Republican, they literally stopped the Obama agenda for 6 years. I'm telling you, from 2010 to 2016, he got a few things done, but he got very little done.
Most of what he got done was through executive order.
Through executive order, exactly. And the same thing with Biden, but it seemed like the Republicans are not standing up to him like that House did back in 2010 to Obama. And look, I've got an interview, not tonight, but we got one we recorded today with my dear buddy Christopher Hall, and he made a great point. He said, we're not guaranteed that the House and the Senate are going to stay Republican this fall. And, that is an important element of the elections, just like the presidential election is, because I think we're beginning to see just how important that voting for our congressional people in the right manner is just as important as voting for the presidential race, because that Congress can stop a lot of this stuff, Tony, if it was acting like it should as a check and balance on the executive branch.
Absolutely. The Iran thing, however, was money that we were sitting on that I don't think Congress had any power over.
I got you.
And it was mostly Iran's money that we were keeping in an icebox. But the rest of it, yeah. There's only so much a president can do with executive orders. Trump did a lot with the border and a lot of things. He had to use executive orders to get things done, which all Americans benefited from it. But just think what he could have got done had he had a Congress
Absolutely.
on his side and working with him. And just think what he could have got done if he didn't have these phony Russia hoax and impeachments they were throwing in the deep state going against him, deep state in his own administration going against him. He could have got so much more done. But see, that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of him getting good things done for the people, because if he does that, then that reduces their power. And that's when they keep saying democracy. He's against democracy. They don't mean democracy in the sense that me and you do. They mean democracy in the sense of their power.
Their power.
And their tyrannic policies that are going to kill democracy. We're a representative republic. I realize that, but we have democracy within that republic.
Yeah.
Governed by the Constitution. And
without a doubt. Well, I also wanted to talk to you tonight, a couple of other things. We're going to get to the Lawfare stuff because you got a lot of good cartoons about the legal stuff with Trump that I want to show you and talk about tonight. But this horrific attack down under, I know it was down in Australia, but it has echo, Tony. It's an echo chamber of what's the threat here if we don't wake up. A 16-year-old kid, they originally said he was 15, but he was 16, goes up against this well-known bishop, Maury Emanuel. It's a good guy. He's on TikTok. I've listened to him. He's a man of faith. And just out of the blue, takes a knife while he's preaching a sermon on Sunday down under and basically tries to stab him. Basically says, you're talking bad about my prophet, which is Islam. It's the Islamic thing. And the Australian police, interestingly enough, I was shocked, to be honest with you, from what I know about the down under situation, they called it terrorism for a change. And of course, all the crazies, there's been a lot of crazy talk about the conspiracy stuff out there too about it. But when you see something like that and these kids doing this stuff, this is an ideology, isn't it, that goes deep into the heart of it's the Arab world in general. It's not just the crazies of Hamas and Hezbollah, but this should wake us up to this is stirring in the hearts of young people all over this world. And Tony, I just think it's a matter of time. It's, they keep saying it's not if, it's when. We're going to have something like that happen here in America before this is over.
Absolutely,
I believe. I do believe it's coming here.
We are. You can't assimilate people who believe Sharia law should be the law of the land. You can't assimilate those people into our society. We're opposing viewpoints. They won't
so true.
assimilate. They're just waiting. They're just sitting in our country, biding their time, and they keep pushing and pushing. That's why you have Biden with bended knee towards Dearborn, Michigan, trying to appease those people and trying to thread this needle between Israel and Palestine and all this. There's right and wrong, and that's what's the problem with the Democrat Party. There is no right and wrong with them. It's whatever they have to do to hang on to power. With Trump, I believe there's what's good for America and what is bad for America, and he always goes with what's good for America. He isn't looking at it politically. People can't understand that. People want somebody that benefits America, benefits the citizens of America. And Biden's all about getting the next vote, whether it's loan forgiveness, whether it's flooding the country full of voters, or appeasing the Palestinians or the protesters. It's whatever it takes to get votes. And I want a politician in there, or I want a guy in there, whether it's in the Senate or the Congress, that's always looking at what benefits America, not their own pocketbook, not their own political whatever. Because I believe if you benefit America and Americans know that you're there for them, they will vote for you.
Absolutely.
Whether they like it or not.
Absolutely. Did you? I don't know if you saw the poll tonight. It was really shocking. Speaking of voting, that 1 in 3 Americans, 33%, and I know people say, "Well, that's just 33%." It's a lot of people. I was shocked that 33% believe that it's okay to vote illegally in this country. When we get Chris Hall, our interview, we had 2 great interviews today. Can't wait to announce them when they come up here in a few weeks. But one of them was with Chris Hall. He's a political analysis up in D.C., and we were talking about this very thing this afternoon about the election integrity coming up in 24. Tony, if you got a third of the country that doesn't have a conscience about voting illegally, and you got a government that don't seem to care about it, because you and I both know that's what this border issue is about. It's about votes. It's labor for the Republicans. It's votes for the Democrats. They want these illegals voting. They want to give them amnesty before the election. I really believe they're targets on Texas because look, they've already got California for the most part. They got New York for the most part, but they want Texas, because if you seal those 3 states, then the rest of us, at that point, the other states won't even matter with the Electoral College, because you've got pretty much those 3 states locked up with this Democratic machine. But does that shock you that many Americans would believe that voting illegally was okay at 33%? I was sort of nothing stuns me these days. Nothing shocks me anymore. But that was I thought that was a very high figure.
I would have to see the question they were asked and how it was asked, but it would stand to reason with the way they're educated these days. They're not educated to understand the Constitution, what real freedom is. They believe a lot of people, if you were to survey them, would say that freedom means more government.
Yeah.
Freedom means more welfare. Freedom means more food stamps. That's not freedom. But in that vein, it doesn't surprise me at all that more people are just ignorant. You know, I had a relative of mine text me and scathed me and said, "How can you be so full of hate? How can you wake up every morning and be full of hate and you know, just the way she spoke was that I was all about hating, and I said, I'm sad that you feel this way. I responded. I said, it's not coming from a place of hate. Right. It's coming from a place of love for my country and my fellow citizens.
Amen.
And it really saddens me that people are not educated enough to know the difference. It's something, and I know this person. She doesn't watch hardly any news, and what little news she gets is probably from Morning Joe or The View. So right away, anything that opposes that of what she's kind of formed as an idea is considered hate, because that's what she's been told. It's funny because I have a lot of relatives and cousins who think that because I disagree with them that I'm hateful or on the wrong side of things, but really, you know, they're the ones that are not inclusive. They can't tolerate anything that descends from their point of view and what they think the worldview should be. And if you go against that, you're the devil, you know. And I listen and respect all viewpoints. But I find that a lot of these people on the left are just not willing to accept a viewpoint or tolerate it. I've lost a lot of friends, as you probably have, a lot of relatives that don't talk to me anymore, simply not because I've been mean to them or said anything bad to them, just that I disagreed with them.
Yeah. You got a cartoon I got up here with the media, and, you know, some of the source of this, Tony, I don't blame it all on the media tonight, but I do blame some. Because they have been a very destabilizing influence in this nation for a long time. People think it just started during the Obama years. It went way back. Look, another thing Chris Hall and I talked about today was Reagan. Reagan was treated very, very ugly during the 1980s. We that were alive then remember. I remember Johnny Carson being unmercifully mocking of his memory problems. The late night comedians, they had a little bit more class about them then than this bunch does now. But they were taking shots at Reagan. And during all those Clinton years, I mean, they made jokes about the sex, but they were very tame in their their treatment of Dems, and they've always been like this. But your cartoon is very telling because no matter how many attacks they throw at Trump, no matter how much lawfare they throw at him, no matter what they do, his poll numbers are going up tonight. They're not going down. People are seeing through the bullshit, and people are seeing through the media haze for the most part. Now, there are some that are not. But do you think there is a change in the wind as we go into 24 this year to this election that it's going to be a little different than 2020, that the media's influence is probably going to do exactly what this cartoon says? The more they blather and the more they blow their fire, that his poll numbers, it's going to drive people to him more than they would care to admit. Because I think that's what happened in 2016.
Morning Joe just had a total meltdown, and it looked like desperation, looked like panic when Morning Joe was talking today. He was flying all over the place. He was like, how can these people be so stupid and blah, blah, blah. That's not how media people talk. Usually they're more restrained, but he was going off. It was like I was getting ready for somebody to come in with a straitjacket on a guy. But no, I blame the media a lot. The problem there, the difference is that there's alternative media.
That's
right
true.
Now. There's that, like your program. You have War Room, who is in. They're not there for entertainment. They're there to inform, like your program. And what I do blame the media is that you have that percentage of people who aren't being told the truth about anything.
That's very true, Tom.
The NPR, CBS, CNN, ABC, CBS, they're all there to be a buffer against the conservatives. They're there to protect the Democrats. They are there to obfuscate. They're there to deflect. They're pro-violent. They are the arm of the Democrat Party. And the more people understand that, the more they're going to this alternative media to get some truth. Even if they don't, even though they're liberal or they might lean to the left or their politics don't lie, they at least are going there to see what are they talking about here? Because I haven't heard anything about the border. I haven't heard anything about energy. I haven't heard anything about the crime wave or the lawfare going. I haven't heard anything about this because the media doesn't tell them. They're going to these other places, and those places are growing in leaps and bounds. And I think it's going to be a different story this year.
I hope.
Because a lot of people even the left aren't believing the media. Yeah. They're just taking it with a grain of salt.
Your cartoon is excellent. Your tax dollars at work. NPR, by the way, folks, for those of you who don't know, NPR is financed by what we paid yesterday out of our yang-yangs. We're paid for this crap. We do. And I love the cartoon here. They got Biden shirts on. And they say biased. Why would they say that we're biased? And they got Trump with a dart, and then the guy says, probably one of those racist GOP types. But that's about the truth of it. I mean, that's how they view the GOP. That's how they view independence. And Tony, look, I'm not even identifying with the political party anymore. I'm just a conservative American. I'm an independent voter. I vote my conscience. I vote for the candidate. I don't care. Right. I would never vote for a Democrat. But this is how they view. This is an insult. That's how the elites view the American public. That cartoon you've got up right there, that's what they consider us as a bunch of racist rednecks. That's what they view us as.
Right. And I believe they are the enemy of the people because they're not giving a unbiased approach to anything. They have forced the hand of alternative media to be more leaning towards the conservative angle of things because it's just not getting out in the mainstream media. So people aren't making informed decisions. Nobody's going to go vote for the guy who opened up the border to 10 million people. No, not very many anyway. Nobody's going to vote for the guy who gave billions of dollars to Iran so they could launch missiles at Israel. Nobody's going to vote for the guy who put a war on energy. So it's the media that is protecting these people from understanding how to connect the dots.
Right.
And that's what's frustrating.
It is. Very much so. I want to look at one of these things because I want to bring something to your attention. You've got a very good cartoon about abortion. Trump made some comments here a few weeks ago, and And look, my audience knows how I feel about what he said. I'm a pro-lifer, Tony. Look, I don't hold back. I've never believed there's any reason to kill a baby. I just don't. And I mean, that's just my personal preference.
Absolutely.
I know that may not be everybody's cup of tea, and that's fine. They're welcome to that. President Trump was strong on life in 2016, but basically when you get down to what he said, he was saying that he believed that the states have got to decide this. The people in their states have to decide what they want to do with abortion. And when he says power to the people, well, the Democrats are predicting that as a dictatorship, that he's threatening a national ban on abortion. And he never said he was going to put a national ban. He's been saying really what Roe v. Wade was taken down for to begin with. That's why we took Roe v. Wade down. That's why the court said this has always belonged to the states to begin with. That's where it is. But I tell you what it did do. It brought the Dems to the table to admit that this is their holy grail for 24. They are going to try to convince, and they're going to use this piece of crap media to do it. They're already lying about it. That they're going to try to
be the enemy of the people.
They are the enemy of the people. They are going to try to convince the women of America, and the guys too that are part of this abortion. There's both men and women that are part of abortion. People may not realize that sometimes. We need to talk to the guys out there too, the fathers of these babies. But he's saying no national ban on abortion. Now, I can disagree with some of the semantics of what he said, but I get what he was saying. He was not predicting that, but they're calling him a dictator. And he can't win, Tony. He can't win.
No, he can't win. But here's what he did, and I think it was it was very smart. He took their steam away. He took the thing that they were going to hit him over the head with, and he said, "Hey, that it's not up to me. It's up to the states. If you live in a state, go to your state representative and change it."
Exactly right.
It doesn't have anything to do with me. So when he gets on that debate platform, or he gets out there and Biden says, "Oh, he was for a national abortion." No, he's not. It showed it right there. He's for the states to decide. If you live in New York, you want abortion, your representatives can get abortion. If you're in another state, they don't want any abortion. They want a 15 to whatever so many weeks within gestation or whatever. That's where you're going to go. It's not up to me. It's up to the states, which is what the Constitution was designed to do. It was never a constitutional law to be regulated. It was absolutely a states' rights issue because it wasn't in the Constitution. What does the Constitution say? What is not in the Constitution is to be relegated to the states. Roe versus Wade stepped all over itself, out of whole cloth, invented a law that they had no right to invent. That is up to Congress to do. And Congress never enough. Congress goes in there and makes a national law. That's one thing. I think that's a possibility, I guess, at some point. But constitutionally, no.
Well said, buddy. Listen, another reason I brought you on, and I'm going to bring this cartoon in here. You're the best. That's all I got to say. You've got the donkey, we call him the Grateful Jackass of Tony's cartoons, which represents the media. It's an accurate description of the media. And he's got a little finger that he's got a magnifying glass, and he says, "I see loads of evidence of corruption against Trump." And then you've got all sorts of evidence against Biden, and the media says, "We see no evidence of criminal wrongdoing there." Buddy, in all your lifetime, I don't know if people understand this, the other day when Trump stepped into that courtroom at Alvin Bragg's courtroom, it set history. It set a precedent of a former president being tried in a courtroom for the first time ever. We've never seen this in this kind of case. And it's a precedent that's I believe, going to come back to haunt the Dems, because now they've opened this Pandora's box. Right. And look, Biden ain't going to be controlling the Justice Department forever. He just ain't. And somebody's going to get in that Justice Department that's got some character and got some courage, and they're going to take a look at Mr. Biden's affairs and Mr. Hunter's affairs. And I'm going to tell you something, the magnifying glass is going to be on them. And that's people in general. They always love to put the magnifying glass on somebody else. They don't like it when it's on them. But that's coming, Tony, and I'm going to tell you something. It's opened a Pandora's box, and I don't look. I'm not saying we need to go tit for tat, but I do say this: what's good for Trump is good for Biden. If they're going to open this up and can of worms up, then you open it up
and
all the way.
And you know what the media is going to do? They're going to say he's weaponizing the justice system.
Exactly.
He's going after his political opponents.
Yes.
They're going to accuse him of everything that they're doing. In fact, they're already accusing him of it. If he gets in there, he's going to weaponize the Justice Department.
Like they're not doing that right now.
now.
That's exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Have you ever seen a time that the Justice Department has been as weaponized against a presidential candidate like this? This goes back to 1939 stuff, man. This is Nazi Germany stuff.
This is dead. This is Banana Republic, Gestapo. This is Stalinism. I've never seen it, and this shows you how far the Democrat Party has come. This is who they are. They are Marxists, and Marxists don't care about the Constitution. Marxists don't care about anything but power and control, and whatever it takes, whatever they can get away with. And if they get away with this, they're coming after you. They're already coming after people who are religious people. They're already coming after Catholics, and there are a lot of cases right now in court and abroad where the FBI has knocked down doors of Catholics who protested near an abortion site. But abortionists can burn down right to life sites, and they can do whatever they want. They never get control. But this is what they'll do. This is what they're doing, and this is it. Well, they're going to get whatever they can get, and
I'm with you.
We can see how far they're willing to go. They're willing to take a president, unprecedented, and file charges against him, try to put him in jail, try to eliminate him from the political scene. This is definitely Banana Republic, Gestapo, Nazi, whatever you kind of thing. It's the antithesis of what conservatives believe in, but what our Constitution allows.
Well, let me ask you this: a couple of questions as it relates to this. Are you concerned? Are there any of these cases that you're more concerned about than others? Do you think Trump waltzes through this, or are you? I'm going to be frank with you. If we had a normal justice system, if that what you put in that cartoon wasn't the world that we live in, these cases wouldn't even be in the courtroom. But the very fact they're in the courtroom and the corruption behind it, and these juries, he's not in a good. Any of these venues are not pro-Trump venues. They're just not.
Purposely.
And I mean, look, we can't just, and I had a friend on last night, James R., my dear buddy, and even James is as positive as you can get. I mean, when it comes to this stuff, because he's illegal, he got a very astute political, legal mind. Yeah. And I turned to him in these situations, and even he said last night, he said, there's really nothing Trump can do right now. He's powerless. He's got to play this out. He's got to hope for the best with these juries, and unless these DAs mess up technically, you can't appeal a verdict. I mean, you can appeal procedure, but you can't appeal a verdict. And just because I get found guilty, don't mean you can go out and say, "Well, I want somebody else to look at that." You got to have a reason for an appeal.
Right.
But even if he goes to jail, do you think that it affects his poll numbers? I think it's going to help him. And we may have the first president of the United States, the inauguration, hand on a Bible from a jail cell. But I still believe he's going to win, even if that happens. What does Tony Branco say about that?
What are they going to do with him in jail with the Secret Service? They have to go to jail too? Are they going to have to hang out with? Because definitely there's some pretty crusty people in jail, even though he's going to probably be put in a secure area. I don't trust anything to do with it. These people are so desperate. I don't trust any security measures for Trump, because it just, I forgot where I was going with that, but no, I think he's going to beat it in the long run. I don't know about the short run. I think I've heard that if whatever happens here, he can appeal this. He can move to the next ladder, and and do it. But how much time does he have between the elections? This is all designed to impede his election. This is election interference, exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And unless we can get Trump in there and he can get a decent AG and DOG going and root out the corruption of the FBI and the CIA, unless he can root out the deep state, we're going to see more of this. And I don't know how you turn it around. It isn't just that. We have to turn the American people around somehow. They've got to understand this. And I think a lot of American people don't understand what's going on. So they just think things are normal. This is the normal procedure. This is, Trump's a bad guy. He said grab them by
right,
what, so
right.
he deserves to go to prison. They don't look at the law in the same way that an attorney does, or even we do. So,
right. Anyway, listen, folks, we got our dear friend Tony Branco with us. We got him for about another 10 minutes. If you got a question, I don't know what's going on YouTube tonight. We were showing 150, 160 people watching this. We're down to 7, so I don't know if they're screwing with their numbers tonight. They do this all the time. But it's good stuff tonight, my friend.
Sorry I ruined your show.
No, you didn't ruin it. No, it's the host, man. Trust me, we're getting through all sorts of storms these days. But listen, if you got a question for Tony tonight, please put it in the house. I know we got more than 5 people watching because I've got more than 5 people in the chat. It's good to see Suzanne May in the house tonight. She's not a May anymore. She's a Glidden, and good to see you, my dear friend. But if you got a question in the house, put it in there right now on Facebook and in YouTube, and we'll ask Tony the question, and we'll see what he's got to say about it. Let's see here. Tony, I do want to ask you about the situation in the House, that the Senate, about this surveillance bill. What was your thoughts about that with Johnson? I'm getting a lot of mixed reviews about him. There's some people that, are saying, that he's got to govern, and I'm one of these to be patient. I'm one of these that understands government. Governing is more than just being on Twitter. There's a reason why people are in D.C. because they're supposed to be there to represent us, and most of these people are politicians. But it does make you concerned that they're surveilling us tonight, and it's really, again, it goes back to Orwellian Gestapo tactics. And when you saw all this play out and these rhinos cave and basically reinstitute the very thing that Trump was trying to get rid of, this FISA Act, because now they can do what they want to without a warrant to anybody in the American.
They spied on his campaign, and
yes,
a bunch
they
of
did.
people that were with his campaign,
yes,
over and over again against the law. I think I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I'm just not qualified. All I know is FISA without a warrant is a bad idea, because it just gives them such an open door to come after people that they view as their political enemies, and they don't have to say that they're political enemies. They can just conjure up some excuse to come and open up their door and knock it down and say, well, we had some reason to do it. We don't have to tell you what it is. Those kind of things concern me. I don't know what Johnson saw in the skiff that changed his mind, but I'm pretty sure that the FBI and the CIA and the deep state have ways of convincing people. I don't know what they have on Johnson, if they have anything at all. I have a sneaky suspicion they have a lot of information on a lot of those congressmen and a lot of those senators that they can use to persuade them to do their bidding.
Right.
And because they're intelligence. They've had the ability to sneak into everybody's profile, background. I don't trust anything. It's like it's like all the information coming at you. It's hard to trust anything, isn't it?
It is.
I hate to be there, but you just kind of got to go with your gut on a lot of this stuff.
You do, buddy.
I definitely don't trust MSNBC or CNN, CBS, ABC, or any of those. I don't trust them at all. And I have to back up and research and look at what's actually going on. And even then, you don't know.
If they said the sky was blue, I'd go outside and look up to see if the sky was blue. I'll just say that.
And even then, I'd wonder if is it really blue?
Really blue or not. Kathy Smith Williams, good question for you. Says, Tony, do you get harassed any for your work? You have been censored at times, haven't you? There have been some YouTube ramifications and some publications that have sort of pulled your work at times.
I'm not monetized on YouTube. Facebook is constantly taking my stuff down. Imagine taking a cartoon down because it doesn't meet their requirements for truth or whatever.
Yeah.
Or it's not factually based. Since when is a cartoon factually based? It's humor.
It's humor, exactly.
I'm in the same boat as the Babylon Bee or any of those humor things. I'm not as big as the Babylon Bee, but I've been harassed. Yeah, I don't get as many death threats and that type of thing as I used to. You know, maybe that's because I don't put my email on my cartoons anymore. But
right. And folks, for those of you that are trying to like the page, there's something going on with YouTube tonight. Just don't worry about it. It's either a YouTube glitch or something. It's all good. Just like it later. Dennis Floyd, if they send Trump to jail, could that be the catalyst for civil war? I want to just make a comment about that, and I'll leave it to you to sort of follow up on this. I think that's what they're baiting us up to do. I think Christopher Hall made that statement to me today, and it's ironic how these things sort of intersect with our show sometimes. But we were talking about this, and one of the things that came up in the discussion with Chris is that he believed that they are baiting us up. That's why they do the things they do. That's why they say the things they say. That's why they threaten the way they threaten. That's why they do these court cases. They're begging us to get in that street and do just that. Because, Tony, if we do, that's martial law, and then there won't be any elections in November. That's what they're salivating for us to do just that.
Yeah. You can have a whole year of riots, burning down courthouses, police stations, and ruining businesses, doing billions of dollars worth of damage, killing cops. You can do all that for a year. Yet they sidestep that, and they keep poking their finger in the eye of conservatives, hoping, just praying. This January 6th was made to order for them. They took something that was just absolutely wasn't even a protest at that time. They were just going to the Capitol to make their voices heard. But, you know, they start firing rubber bullets into the audience. They start throwing tear gas. When there was no disorder at all, they started doing this, antagonizing them. And I don't know if that was by design, but they took a bunch of people, and there were some bad things that happened there. I'm not saying there were some riotous type people, but overall, majority of the people were meandering around the halls. They stayed within the ropes. You had grandmas taking pictures, but they tried to turn that into an armed insurrection, which it wasn't.
Right.
By the definition of armed insurrection, it wasn't an insurrection. They didn't stop anything. They didn't do anything. They were just, most of them were just meandering around the hall. So they took that and they blew it into something that it wasn't. And that's what and I believe that some of this was by design. I think it was instigated. I think there's still so much we don't know about that. They wouldn't allow the National Guard to be there. They wouldn't allow some of the footage to be shown. And then you had that J6 show trial kangaroo court thing, which they didn't give any exculpatory evidence, or the other side of the view couldn't even be shown. All of this, everything they do, it seems like they're just keep poking and poking, hoping that we'll react. So people that start talking about a civil war, we're in a civil war.
You absolutely believe that. I think we're already in that. I'm with you.
If it gets bloody, then they have every reason in the world. They don't care what Black Lives Matter did. They don't care what the left does. They don't care if Tlaib goes into the Capitol with a bunch of people rioting or protesting in there. They get a pass. In these capitals, they get a pass. But as soon as we do anything, they're going to be coming after us with guns blazing.
Without a doubt, and I think you made a good point. We're already in a civil war. We ain't got the bullets right now, but that's where this nation is. Ideologically, it is. We're divided like we've never been. Elaine Willard,
Marxism
versus freedom. That's it.
Versus our Constitution. That's where we're at.
That's it. Elaine Willard's asking you tonight from Facebook. All the Facebook folks are chiming in. You YouTube folks, ask a question if you got them. She says, Tony, do you have any new books out yet? I really would like to add to my collection. She says, I love your cartoons. Have you written any new books lately or got any new?
No, I don't really write books. What I do is I take a stack of my cartoons, some of the better ones over the couple of years, and I put them into a book, and it has a foreword, and and I put some new stuff in there. So it's basically, if I do one this year, which I'm working on a possibility of doing one, it will have all the best cartoons since the last time I did a book. So
yeah.
I'm putting those in there. And thank you for purchasing the book. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Elaine's a good person. Corey Aguilar, she says, I'm very skeptical about potential jurors being honest about not being biased. What are your thoughts? I don't think you can really, that's the thing about a jury, Tony. I mean, I've served on a jury, and juries lie. I mean, these people, they don't have to say they're biased. And, look, I'm with her. I mean, I don't think you can ever be sure that a juror ain't biased. I don't think there's anything you can do, because you can't stick these little, what are those things they stick on you in a mental institution, stick it on your head and do the brainwave thing. We can't do that to people on juries. I mean, you can't look in their heart. I mean, her question, and look, in all fairness to Cord, that is a good question, because I wish there was a test to show whether they're biased or not, because
lie detector,
exactly, something. I mean, her question is legitimate. I'm not making light of the question, because she's really got a good point. Because if Trump can't get a fair shake, I think none of us going to get a fair shake. I mean, that's my take on it. But
I think the best they can hope for here is a hung jury.
A hung jury,
yeah, where just one or two people go, this is stupid, this is ridiculous. This is political, pure political. If he was a Democrat, this wouldn't be happening. And it just takes a couple of those guys to have some kind of sense of justice to stop it. Whether that'll happen in Manhattan, I have no idea. I doubt it.
I doubt it too. Deborah Young, good question here. She says, what can we do to stop illegals from voting? Well, let me tell you, you get them out of your country. First and foremost, let's have a big deportation event. Yeah. And I'll just show this. Actually, somebody posted this on, I think this question was asked on Twitter today, ironically, Deborah, and that's what somebody put up there. It's a deportation sign. It says, deport them. So that's how we stop illegals from voting in this country. But one thing I will tell you, I will tell you this, that we've done in Tennessee, and I applaud my state for it. We don't have any shenanigans here in the volunteer state. You got to show, first of all, an ID twice. You show it when you come in the door, and you have to prove you're a citizen. You have to show an address within that district. If you don't have an address, you don't get a vote. You don't get a ballot. Before I got the ballot, I got to show my ID again. And then when I get the ballot, Chris don't go and do a electrical thing. I have to sit down and take a pen and fill it in the old-fashioned way, just like we did those old standardized tests in school. And I know it's a little tedious for a lot of people, but we don't have shenanigans in the volunteer state. And I'm proud. It may take me a few extra minutes to vote, but I'd rather do that and know that my vote is being legitimate than this crap that's going on in these blue states, Tony. And a lot of it, the shenanigans, let's just be blunt with each other, they're the blue state shenanigans. That's where they're at. What's your thoughts on this illegal aid?
A lot of the swing states. No, there's only one reason you don't want a voter ID and proof of citizenship. There's only one reason, and that's because you want to cheat. You want people voting who don't belong here. Now, I understand Congress is trying to pass a law to where you have to prove you're a citizen to be able to vote. What a novel idea that is. I don't know if it'll pass or if they already put it up for vote and it didn't pass, but there shouldn't be anybody in the United States that isn't for that. And I think most people are for that. Whether it will go through or not, I don't know.
Right. Well, I know we got more than 3 people watching because we've got more than that in the chat. But if you're in YouTube tonight, put a thumbs up so I know you're out there tonight. Dennis Floyd's another question. He says, I just heard today that the judge has the final say-so on any jurist selected. How can that be? Is that true? Is the judge got the final say? I guess he ultimately does, but I thought that comes down to both the defense and the prosecution. They have to agree.
I thought so
doubly.
too, but with this judge, nothing would surprise me. He even had the questionnaire for the juries, and it was so biased and so prejudiced against Trump. I couldn't believe that he actually did that. This is a charade. This is a facade, fraud. This is political. This is election interference, whatever you want to call it. And it's so obvious. The judge's daughter works for the DNC or works for an organization that raises money, and she's been raising money on this trial. Now, and a lot of judges have said that he should recuse himself just because of that, and also because of all the statements he's made against Trump, and the statements she's made, his daughter's made against Trump, and he's donated a lot of money to the Democrat Party. You would think if anybody should be recused or should recuse himself, it's this guy.
No, without a doubt, and he's not going to recuse himself, which is a travesty. But it goes back to what we've been talking about tonight, Tony. Look, I don't think we need to be so certain that Trump's going to waltz through these things because of these forces that are against him. These are, look, I wished our justice system in a normal world and a world that's not la la land, then I would feel differently. But I'm very concerned about these court cases because of the dynamics. And look, I believe it's not going to hurt him politically. I think it's going to help him politically. But the cost is going to be deep because the media is going to play this up like there ain't no tomorrow. And unfortunately, I'm not going to steal Christopher Hall's quote, but I'll just paraphrase it. And he said that the gods of heaven, and Chris is a Christian for all you religious types out there that just went crazy when he said that. No, but he said the gods of heaven have a struggle against the stupidity of humankind.
There you go. That's perfect.
And when he said that, I busted out. And we had a great interview. I can't wait to play the interview next week for Chris because, I mean, it was saying what he was basically saying is, look, the human condition is one that people just do stupid stuff. They just do. And they vote stupidly, Tony, and they allow stupid stuff to go on. And that's the truth.
The whole reason we're in this problem is because people are stupid and they're ignorant. You wouldn't vote, like I said earlier, you wouldn't vote for somebody like Biden if you knew everything that was going on. You wouldn't vote for somebody like Obama, knowing that he was a communist, raised as a communist through Frank Marshall David, and his whole family are socialist, communist, hung around communist in college, started his campaign with Bill Ayers, a known Marxist. You wouldn't vote for him if a person, most people, if they knew that they don't, because the media shields them from it, and they make light of certain things that Obama was or Biden. They just twist it, and then they go right to, well, Trump said grab them by the you know what.
Yeah.
So.
Do you, Roger Hooker, this is actually a good question. We'll ask you a couple more. Do you have guidelines in your thought process when coming up with a new cartoon? You know, you told me this before. You've been doing this a long time. You just sort of go with the flow with the current events, don't you? You sort of let that be your, what's going on in the world and the things that are going on in the country and things of that nature, right? And whatever comes to mind.
Well, that's a good question. With political cartooning, you have to stay on top of the issue, of the issues of the day. If you do, for instance, like the Iran attacking Israel, for instance, I've got a slew of drafts on that. But by tomorrow, the whole world could change. They could be on to something else. The Trump trial. I try to put my cartoons out where it's topical so that people will You know, and it's always about my opinion, what I think about a given issue. Nobody tells me what to draw or how to draw it. It comes right out of here. It's a real scary place up here, I realize. But that's where they come from, and it's my viewpoint, and I have to stay right on top of it. And sometimes I'll be able to set a draft aside or an issue aside until it comes back up again, because usually these issues just go around in a circle. What isn't relevant right now will be relevant in a couple of weeks again. So you just try to stay current.
Yeah. When you did the dumbfoolery content, did you have like an epiphany?
I had to do a lot of praying for that one.
I figured you had to do a lot of praying, and you probably even went on a Mecca, like a Mecca journey for about 6 months on that one, didn't you? You just think real hard how you were going to draw the one about McDonald here. Hey, I got a couple more good questions for you. I'm going to let you go. Carol Smith, do you think Trump is getting a jury of his peers? I can tell you right now, Carol, no, he ain't getting a jury of his peers. He's getting a jury of his executioners. That's what we've been talking about, man. These people, this is a rough bunch, man. I tell you.
You just stimulated a cartoon.
I thank you. I'm always at your disposal for inspiration.
Yeah, I just had all these executioners in the jury book, and I'm just jotting it down right now. And jury of his peers.
Carol gets the apple of the night. She's a great Bible student in the morning, but she gets the apple of the night for that comment. Carol, you've just inspired Tony Branco. Now you have
I had to write that down.
You have just.
I can see a jury. I can see a jury where all of these executioners in the jury box holding an axe.
Yes.
A jury of Trump's peers.
That's good. That is absolutely good. All righty.
I love it.
Well, listen, we appreciate you being on with me tonight. And, buddy, listen, we're going to have you back on next month, as we always do. Keep doing the good work. You know, you're a dear friend of the show. In this crazy world, I hope that we can still do these one day. And I'm going to say goodnight to these folks off the camera here a little bit. But, listen, I appreciate you so much, more than you'll ever know. Keep this fight up.
Likewise.
And I appreciate you. I'm going to give you a final word, final thought. What's your final thoughts before we get out here tonight?
Just hang in there. We got a lot. Even if we win this one, I just want to close with this. Even if we win this one, let's say Trump wins. Let's say we win the Congress, the Senate, and the House. We can't stop. They're never going to stop. They're going to fight. They're never going to stop fighting for destroying this country. We can't stop. Even when we win, we cannot stop.
So true, Tony.
We got to entrench. We got to get stronger. We got to educate and just keep going. That's my final thought.
It's great advice. And I'm going to add something to that too. We can't get cynical and not vote.
No.
I don't care how bad it looks, how bleak it looks. We still have to keep fighting. And I'm glad you said that. We cannot lay down and say, well, my vote don't count. And I will tell you this, I think it's more than voting. We got to get involved in the local elections. We got to get involved in our state elections. Absolutely. We've got to serve as poll watchers, especially in these blue states and these swing states. And I'm going to say this to Texas tonight. They got their eye on you. These illegals coming into your state, they've got their eye on Texas. And I'm telling you, Tony, this is the most sinister thing I've ever seen in my lifetime, what they're doing with the voting. Buddy, I appreciate you. I'm going to let these folks, I'm going to say goodnight to these folks off air. But listen, I'll be in touch with you. I hope you have a blessed week. And always, comically, I even got your website right tonight. I mean, I'm going to fall down. He's going to do a cartoon with a little halo around Chris McDonald's head and says, he got it right. So, comicallyincorrect.com. Thank you so much, buddy, and I'll be in touch. Have a good night.
You,
Tony Branco, everybody. Put some fire in that house farm. And we're grateful for him and so forth. I'm just going to come over here just for a second. And James R. was on last night, not tonight. I'm just going to stop right here. I'm just going to come over here and do it, and I'll just put my picture up. I don't have a live feed to come on right now, so let me do this. Let me get my glasses on so I can find that little image there. I think it's this one right here. Nope, not that one. That's our conference. But there we go. James R. was on last night, not tonight, so it's just me. But I do want to say thank you to everybody. Because of the YouTube issue, we're not going to keep you much longer. We are aware of it, folks. It looks like it's a server issue. It is something that's going on with the server. And we know we have more than 7 people out there in YouTube tonight, but we will be back here in the morning on our Faith Network. And then tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, we got a dear buddy, another old friend of ours, Kevin Jessup. He's not been on our network for 5 years now. It's been 2019, 2020 almost when he was here last time. And he's going to be talking about some faith issues with us tomorrow night at 6. And then we'll have our Wednesday night Bible study at 8. And then Thursday night, it'll be a late show. We'll be on the road. And the reason we will be on the road is this right here. If you're in the greater South Dakota area, not the deportation issue, but this right here, we're going to be in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, 3620 West of Vera Drive. And Friday night at 7, we're going to be dealing with America's Hebraic roots. You don't want to miss this time with us Friday night. Israel's land, the Antichrist and ancient hatred, the Passover and the rapture, communion, and Christ our Passover on Sunday. We normally don't do Sundays on these conferences, but this one we will. And so please be with us, and we hope that you will join us in South Dakota. That's up in the greater Midwest area, of course. And if you're in Missouri, Nebraska, Iowa, of course, South Dakota, North Dakota, you're within driving distance, maybe 4 to 5 hours, come out and be with us this weekend, free of charge, no entry. And we got handouts for you, and just a good time of fellowship. And we want to thank Amy Miller for helping us with this. I want to thank Sheila Daspit for her help in Mississippi, and I want to thank Corey Aguilar for her help in Jacksonville. We do appreciate them so much for that. Let me see if I can come on the camera just for a second. Maybe this will do it. Oh, I can. There we go. Well, let me get my still picture out of the way. I'll just come right here. Listen, we're grateful that you've been with us tonight. Sorry for the YouTube issue. It's not us. I was checking to make sure we ain't got taken down. This thing was still streaming. So it's a server network issue. Maybe they'll get it fixed by tomorrow. But we want to thank all the folks on Twitter and all the folks on Facebook. And good questions tonight, folks, for Tony. Thank y'all for that. I will see you in the morning. And listen, until we'll see you in the morning on the Faith Network. And then tomorrow night with the double feature. Mainly faith shows tomorrow. Wednesday's our faith day. But we'll be back here on the News Network Thursday night, and then Friday night we'll be with you on both networks from South Dakota, okay? And then we'll be back to normal next week at some point, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll be traveling Monday home. So pray for us, and if you'd like to support us, you know where to do that financially. ZELLE, chrismac44@gmail.com, paypal.me/themcfiles, P.O. Box 50942, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37950. Your donations help us, and anything you can throw extra at us this week for this trip, we'll be more than grateful to receive it, because we can sure use it. Thank you for listening to the McFiles, and thank you for being with us tonight. We hope you enjoyed Tony Branco. It's good to see everybody out there, and may the Lord bless you is our prayers, and have a safe sleep and a wonderful night ahead, and we'll see you back here tomorrow with bells on. Good night, everybody. Folks, before we go home tonight, I wanted to mention also, too, our dear friends from HoosierWarriorCoffee.com/McFiles. Get some great coffee from our folks up in Indiana. Roasted and shipped once it's placed, and a portion of your sales and their sales through that website goes to help keep the McFiles going. And you get some good coffee from some good folks with Natalie Corbin's family. HoosierWarriorCoffee.com/McFiles. Good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.